welcome to my series, Operating Trance. In this series, I'll be breaking down the techniques that L. Ron Hubbard used within Scientology into bite-sized pieces, starting with Dianetics and hopefully all the way up to the OT levels. We'll see how it goes. One of the key moments that inspired this series came during a conversation with a Scientologist outside my local org. He told me, "No, it can't be hypnosis. I've studied hypnosis. People can't be hypnotized without their consent." But unfortunately, they can, especially if someone is using covert techniques and understands how to bypass conscious resistance. When combined with repetition, emotional manipulation, and isolation, it becomes a powerful tool of control. So today, let's take a look at the origins of Hubbard's understanding of hypnosis and mind control long before Dianetics was published.
I wish to register a protest about this.
Episode 1, Hubbard's history with hypnosis. So old Ronnie boy, Mr. Hubbard, had a keen interest in controlling consciousness, and it began early. At age 16, he reportedly joined the Rosicrucians, specifically AMORC, the ancient mystical order Rosicrucius. These mail-order courses taught mental projection, hypnotic influence, and control of others through willpower. Concepts like astral travel, telepathy, and mental dominance were central, and these ideas would later appear rebranded in Scientology as theta control and exteriorization. In the 1930s, Hubbard attended George Washington University. Though he ultimately dropped out, he boasted that he hypnotized over 400 people while there. He was performing stage hypnosis at parties, experimenting with starring techniques, and studying old manuals like 25 Lessons in Hypnotism by L.E. Young. Hubbard told friends he could hypnotize someone just by fixing his gaze on them. Many of the drills and TRs in Scientology would later mimic this same effect. He also likely studied Emile Coué's autosuggestion techniques, and was influenced by the early works of Franz Mesmer, the founder of animal magnetism. Animal magnetism, also known as mesmerism, is the belief in an invisible natural force possessed by all living things, including humans, animals, and plants, that can influence physical phenomena and potentially be used for healing. Franz found that if he sat knee to knee with his patients, a lot of the time young women, talk with them, gesticulate in front of them, that they would feel better. They would be mesmerized, and sometimes they would need further treatment in one of the back rooms, but he never elaborated on what that treatment was. The medical establishment at the time didn't like Mesmer because he was taking patients away from them. But today we recognize Mesmer's contribution, the power of suggestion. Basically, he was one of the fathers of hypnosis. In Emile Coué's research, he emphasized that repetition of suggestion could implant belief and behavior, an idea that shows up decades later in Hubbard's own writings on affirmations, auditing, and indoctrination. Hubbard's use of affirmations in the 1940s, like "you are a magnificent writer" and "men are your slaves," were essentially self-hypnosis tapes he created for himself. They reflected his desire for dominance, adoration, and total control. One of his more significant influences was Milton Erickson, the father of clinical hypnotherapy. Hubbard later adopted Erickson-style indirect techniques like confusion, repetition, and monotone delivery to create hypnotic effects in a non-hypnotic setting.
For your great acceptance and the difficulties of...
This is how Scientology could claim falsely that it didn't use hypnosis while doing exactly that.
When I count from 5 to 1 and snap my fingers, you will feel alert. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
In 1933, Hubbard married Margaret Polly Grubb. While he worked as a writer, he spent time in New York, often away from his wife and children. Polly once intercepted letters addressed to several women. She opened them, realized he was cheating, and rearranged them before the mailman picked them up for delivery. Lafayette was livid, but fair play to her, I say. In later interviews, she alleged he was emotionally abusive and experimented with sleep deprivation and control tactics even in the early years of their marriage. Hubbard's fascination with altering mental states deepened during World War II. In the mid-40s, he was admitted as a patient to Oak Knoll Naval Hospital in California. There, he encountered abreactive therapy, a technique where psychiatrists guided patients to relive trauma in order to discharge it emotionally. He may have observed or read about narcosynthesis, a form of abreaction under barbiturates, used on soldiers returning with combat trauma. This therapeutic model, reliving traumatic memory to relieve emotional pain, became the foundation of Dianetics auditing. But where the military used drugs, Hubbard used guided trance, suggestive questioning, and eventually the E-meter. Also during this time, Hubbard authored the infamous document known as the Affirmations, or Admissions. It's a private self-hypnosis script where he wrote and repeated things like, "You will live to be 200 years old. Men are your slaves." These weren't just motivational mantras, they were hypnotic implants Hubbard wanted to drive deep into his own subconscious. By 1946, Hubbard had moved in with Jack Parsons, a follower of Aleister Crowley, and a high-ranking member of the Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO for short. Together, they practiced occult sex magic rituals designed to invoke spirits, manipulate energy, and command reality through willpower and ritual repetition. Hubbard served as the scribe during their infamous Babylon working, a rite aimed at summoning a goddess incarnate. These occult practices share similarities with Scientology's later auditing routines and belief in implant stations and past life implants. In 1950, Hubbard released Dianetics, the modern science of mental health. Though he claimed it was a revolutionary science, much of it was lifted from Freud's early abreactive hypnosis techniques, occult rituals, and military psychiatric practices. The structure of the engram chain mirrors Freud's trauma regression model, but with fewer ethical safeguards and no medical oversight. Meanwhile, during this exact era, the CIA launched Project Bluebird and later MKUltra. These programs tested the limits of controlling behavior through hypnosis, electroshock, LSD, and memory implantation. Psychiatrist Donald Ewan Cameron's psychic driving technique involved repeating audio messages to patients in isolation for up to 20 hours a day, often following drug-induced electroshock or sleep deprivation. While Hubbard wasn't connected directly to MKUltra, the overlap is striking. He created a system that isolated people from dissent, induced trance-like states through repetition, gathered their secrets through auditing, and manipulated their beliefs using loaded language and identity control. In 1955, he wrote and published a booklet titled Brainwashing, a synthesis of the Russian textbook on psychopolitics, under the pseudonym Charles Stickley. The booklet warned that communists were using mind control to destroy the West, but it also weirdly praised Dianetics. Many believe Hubbard wrote it himself. He even tried to sell it to the FBI, claiming that his techniques could induce total amnesia in under 20 seconds. His second wife, Sarah Northrup, later testified that Hubbard had drugged her, subjected her to hypnotic suggestions, sleep deprivation, and psychological control. She alleged he once strangled her and claimed he had performed a psychic abortion to kill their unborn child. Their divorce filings are harrowing. His son, L. Ron Hubbard Jr., also later claimed that his father experimented with nitrous oxide, barbiturates, amphetamines, and hallucinogens on himself and his own family. He said his father was obsessed with gaining power through controlling others' minds. So what was Scientology built on? Not discovery, not healing, but control. A system of ritualized confession, repetition, and suggestibility, all rooted in one man's lifelong obsession with hypnosis, the occult, and power. In episode 2, we'll explore Dianetics itself and how a system that mimicked early trauma therapy evolved into a global method of psychological and financial control. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you would like to support my channel, please follow one of the links in my link tree, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.